How you doing? www.andrewmarkmusic.com on fascism. To bind together as to be strength and unity. Yes, well, what is being bound together? That would be the question then. The word fascism is being thrown around big time in every imaginable way with the rise of Trump and Bannon. Feel free to go to Wiki if you want the official academic definitions. It should be clear by now that what's being bound together in fascist ideologies is ethnicity. In recent decades, the ethnicity is white nationalism. But fascism is not limited to this. It could be any type of mass identity politics. I would add that it's a combination of mass identity politics with a top-down corporate control of the state. So you have, it's not simply one. I mean, you can't argue that North American tribal people were fascists just because they were of one racist people. No, it's more than just ethnicity, but ethnic supremacy is a part of it. Where ethnicity becomes problematic is when it's elevated to extremes. Now, I would say the first mass organized identity politics in antiquity is the chosen people ideology. And so this idea goes back millennia. So in recent decades, it's reared its ugly head on the European continent, and I would say in very recent history, North America. On my website, you'll see a graph that's a quadrant graph that illustrates societal freedom on top, bottom, and economic justice and injustice on the left and right poles. I'll start by saying fascism today is extremism as shown by the graph. It advocates social restriction and fiscal policy which enriches the elites. One can see that centrist positions offer the most societal freedom and possibility for fiscal fairness. We can see by the graph that the two main parties are extremist and tend towards fascist ideology. This is called, in recent political parlance, the duopoly. So no matter who you vote for, the corporate fascist state rules. At this point in time, it's only the New Democrats in Canada and the Green Party in North America that are not fascist in practice. So we might ask, how did all this extremism happen? Well, it started with two oligarchs in the modern era, the Rothschild and the Rockefellers, money and oil, and they hold firm grasp of power in the White House today. This is who controls the White House today, the legacy of the Rothschilds and Rockefellers. So it's no coincidence that fascism arose with the rise of fiat currency and fractional reserve lending, a global Ponzi scheme. Two world wars started within years of this system being implemented. I believe that there is a causal connection. Today, these two oligarchs have a diversion to about 1,000 oligarchs running what's called a transnational plutocracy. Make no mistake about it, this is worldwide fascism, and the means is the corporate model. So, in my opinion, it's near laughable for the left to call Trump a fascist when Obama was every bit as fascist. Okay, so how did this happen in recent history? Well, the Chicago School economic neoliberal policies. Whether in South America, Russia after the fall, the EU, all of it imposing the corporate plutocracy on civilian populations, and all of it funded by the bankers, who seem to be in the process of implementing a cashless society where there will eventually be no worker labor for humans. we think we need to ask the question, why are they so intent on doing this when it seems so obvious that this is not in humanity's best interest? I think this is a very, very valid question. Obviously, they're doing this through massive manipulation and control of populations, psychology, through Hollywood, Wall Street. You can see the Century of the Self documentary by Adam Curtis, who documents how they've gone about doing this. All this does beg the question of how fascism evolved in the last 100 years. It's a fascism where women have extraordinary freedom, but have offered very little resistance to worldwide fascist machinations. I think Angela Merkel's being a prime example of this. Dr. Jordan Peterson makes an excellent point here, and that for the first time in history, women have societal power. And he asserts, and I believe correctly so, that the mothering instinct, which is appropriate to the child, then gets projected onto civilization's political economic structures, which ends up being a type of neo-fascism. That is to say, the mothering instinct at the societal level becomes exceedingly problematic and encourages dysfunction and irrationality. We see this with Angela Merkel's misplaced care for the other. I don't think if you live in Greece you can view Angela Merkel as anything other than being fascist. What would a female fascism look like? And I think this is a valid question. This is not to displace blame for what's going on onto women, but they are certainly a part of this. Now, it's a fascism where black men can be presidents of the United States of America and drop hundreds of thousands of bombs on Muslim nations, killing millions, to secure control of Muslim oil resources. Obviously the legacy of the Rockefellers. And we use Western militia for the political aims of the Greater Israel Project. Well, yes, once again, the Jewish people find themselves right in the middle of this. Is it a coincidence that millennial fascist ideologies continually arise, whether 2,000 years ago in Rome or to controlling the White House today? It doesn't take much investigative measure to find out that the Jewish elite used every fascist method in the book to take control of the land of Israel in the past century. It's a fact they were front and center in the movements in Europe mid-century, in this particular place claiming victimhood, but initially funding the movement. The White House today is every bit as convoluted, with Bannon being completely funded by Israel, yet being called a Nazi by the media. So we seem to have this convoluted collusion of Jewishness and fascism. Now, economically, this system over the last 100 years manufactured your consent by offering about 20% of the year's population an exceedingly good standard of living. Now, this standard of living is brought to you by oil. Make no mistake about it, and it's the legacy of the Rockefellers that have given you this freedom, and they control the destiny of this freedom. If there's no replacement to oil, then that explains much of the global political situation today. All the maneuvering to protect that resource is fascist in ideology and practice. Now, most of this wealth in the last 100 years, at its base, has been brought into existence by corrupt practices via currency, fractional reserve lending. There's an element of it that's unmerited. It's unmerited wealth. When you have an economic model based on a casino, how much of that wealth is merited? And yes, this is fascism. And, we bought it. You bought it. It should also be noted that 20% of the people that won in this casino will side with the fascist rulers. They will ask the fascist rulers to protect their wealth. This obviously will become very problematic over the next 50 years. Now, part of AndrewMarkMusic.com is to offer solutions. Number one, every country has to limit fiat currency to about 20% of the currency in circulation and allow multiple distributors of the currency. Every country needs to have a base currency of a non-debt public trading commodity. About 80% of all currency in circulation should be a non-debt public currency. The judiciary in every country needs to pass laws committed to prosecuting criminally corporations and CEOs, and along with criminal prosecution of financial crimes, and to make sure there's laws on the books calling a financial crime a financial crime. You know, the CEOs involved in 2008 should be behind bars in the debacle that happened in 2008. Those who poisoned and made a dead zone out of the Gulf should be in prison. This can no longer continue to happen. Not that I believe there's any stopping this. Now, why can't it be stopped? This gets into metaphysics, the nature of reality. Most of the people are on the planet today in the West are going to analyze this through a material lens, and they're going to misdiagnose what's going on here. I'm not going to get into what's going on here in this thing, but I will say, as a hint, you need to research the word archon in relation to spirituality, and then you will have a hint of what's going on here. Anyway, www.andrewmarkmusic.com on what fascism is today. Peace out, although I doubt there will be very little peace in the coming 50 years.